My goal is to capture the dynamics of Kung Fu in my films, always using authentic techniques. Kung Fu is the engine that drives all my film productions.
Over the years, Hong Kong has seen many notable directors in the Kung Fu film genre. However, few have dedicated as much effort to representing Chinese martial arts in Asian cinema as Liu Chia Liang, known in Cantonese as Lau Kar Leung. Sadly, this icon of Kung Fu cinema passed away on Tuesday, June 25, 2013, after fighting cancer for almost 2 decades. Diagnosed with lymphoma in 1994, his health worsened in 2005 when he contracted pneumonia while working in cold conditions on Tsui Hark's film Seven Swords, 2005, which was his last work. Family members from his first and second marriages were at his side when he died at 10:17 a.m. Tuesday. He was 76 years old. He began his training at an early age, according to sources, between 7 and 9 years old. The Hung fist was passed down from Fei-hung to Master Lam, then to Liu Zhan, and finally to his son, young Master Liu, a fourth-generation disciple of Fei-hung. Adversity and determination paid off, and by age 14, the young master was already training others. He began his career in the film industry in the 1950s, at the age of 17, although some sources mention that he was 18, participating in several productions as an extra or specialist. Many of these productions were early films about Wong Fei-hung, starring the respected Kwan Tak-hing. According to Master Liu, in the early days of Wong Fei-hung films, these Kung Fu films were funded by Kung Fu schools. Unlike later, it was not uncommon for Hong Kong films to be filmed with synchronous sound. Action choreography was very different from that of the late 1960s and later, but Maestro Liu was one of the main drivers of its evolution. Liu's career really took off when Tang Chia recruited him, along with Tang Chia, Tong Kai in Cantonese. Although his success was not consolidated until 1975, from the mid-1960s Liu worked for the largest and most prestigious film studio in Asia at the time, Shaw Brothers, one of the largest in the world. Liu Chia Liang and Tang Chia, with complementary styles, were responsible for the action sequences in Tang Chia's ambitious productions. This choreography team was as crucial as the acting duo David Chang and T. Lung. Together, Liu and Tang designed the fights, Chang and Lung acted them, and Tang Chia directed them, forming an unstoppable force. In early 1973, Liu traveled to Taiwan with Tang Chia to film several films for Shaw Brothers. The company, based in Hong Kong, had a lot of capital in Taiwan that, by law, could not be transferred out of the country. Following Chia's creation of Chang's film company, Liu used his experience on Hung Gar Kung Fu to develop more realistic fight sequences, something that had not been seen before. A few years earlier, bare-knuckle fighting had featured prominently on screen with The Chinese Boxer, 1970, and many other similar films. These scenes, although brutal, were more like karate and lacked elegance. Liu made Kung Fu more fluid and authentic by showing the true style.
出拳嘅手唔係咁樣嘅，擺出去。就喂，頭先你係拍戲啊？呢係真假嘅？拍戲啊，師傅。拍戲唔係咁嘅喎。嗱點啊？起腳。好清楚腳佢係食咗隻手。你一定係好清楚係打到手。好打手。嗱個手咧冇收咁快。你收回聽得快啊！你真假就咁樣，係你砰擺喺手度，喺機攢你手轉拍轉，明唔明啊？明白。你中嗰錘，你係下把嚟嘅，即係個真力，中錘，go，一定可以俾佢打傷咗嘅。你唔好睇出，一定要打你。明白？嚇，再一次啊！抽先，跟住拍睇位呢個拍電影啊，咁樣就唔好睇嘅。點好肥？你一將佢手打過，跟住為咗，就將個位。黑個黑冇錯，眼嚟 ，OK， 好，好，而家就前邊打幾個錘拋在嗰度，拋咗啦，OK， 嗱你個手，電影咁唔好睇喎，咁唔好睇喎，拋，嚟。咁睇佢手，咁有電影感啊！如果你冇電影佢咁樣，唔好睇 ，OK， 唔好睇。喂，睇佢手，咁我電影感就多啊！好咁啊唔好睇，唔美感啊！第二個開住，拋，兜住手嚇，你試下，唔好咁樣。good， 嗱，咁咪點咁啊？咁啊唔好睇啊！明白未啊？多謝師傅。明白，好走。何師傅。好走，唔躲唔好睇喎。你係要五個。咁樣好睇喎。OK， 你先。good， 啱啦第二步走，嗱呢個唔好睇，得唔得？嚟，步走，你放，放，第二步走呢個咁一嚟，係咪？睇你手，特寫拍大你嘅手，係咪？有冇睇住喎？睇住喎。注呢手頂住，你話要 hand， 放手，我放手。嚟，go，
Creative differences between Chang and Liu emerged during the filming of Marco Polo, 1975, in Taiwan. Liu, tired of gory and visceral theatrics, wanted to direct his own films. there could only be one leader. Liu wanted to do things his way, but under Tang Chia's leadership, that was not possible. Although both shared some similarities, they also had differences. Tang Chia's influence is evident throughout Liu's career, although the latter, a devotee of Chinese Kung Fu, left his own mark on his films. Additionally, there was a rift between them, apparently initiated by Liu, and they did not reconcile until the late 80s. Back in Hong Kong and with Mona Fong's approval, Liu embarked on directing his first film. The production, initially titled Skillful Fighter, was a light comedy, the first kung fu comedy, that satirized superstitious beliefs and Chinese folklore about boxers, fighters who could supposedly invoke powerful gods to protect themselves from physical harm and death. The film starred Wang Yu, a virtually unknown actor, and featured special appearances by famous actors T. Lung and Chen Quan Tai at the beginning, to add a touch of stardom. This experimental film, which was completed in just 1 month, was a success for Liu, the first action choreographer to take on the role of director. Furthermore, it ensured the production of more films under the direction of Master Liu. The Spiritual Boxer was a modest film that shared some similarities with a blockbuster Tang Chia was working on at the time, titled The Boxer Rebellion, 1975, released early 1976. The latter was a controversial 137-minute epic, drastically reduced for theatrical release and with a title change, that focused on the historical event itself. In contrast, the first film used the boxers and their spirit possession gimmick as a comedic element. In Legendary Weapons of China, 1982.
I'm sorry. Years ago, Lei Gong was sent to Yunnan to set up a branch over there. Lei Gong betrayed us. He dissolved the Yiho Society in Yunnan. A traitor will be executed.
A lot of young people have been bewitched by the Yiho clan. You should destroy this superstition.
Traitor! I'm not a traitor! Yes, you are! I will chase my pupils! I don't want them to die!
An independent sequel to this film was released in 1979, titled The Spiritual Boxer 2. Unlike the first installment, it was not as successful and was considered a low-quality kung fu horror comedy. It was probably thought to be a good investment after the first film proved profitable upon its re-release that year. Wang Yu returned in a different role, and the plot revolved around corpse herders in China, who were funeral organizers who used black magic to transport bodies to their home villages. The comedy is mostly weak and the action only appears at the end of the film. This would be the first setback in Liu's career, who, after 1978, could not surpass the success achieved that year. Liu's next films focused on Shaolin, creating his own Shaolin cycle, similar to that of Chang Chia in Taiwan. The first of these films had a loose connection to the famous temple and was the first of 2 times Liu portrayed Wong Fei-hung for Shaw Brothers. Unlike Chang Chia's heroic style, Liu took a more moralistic approach in his second film as director. This film is ideal for those who are not usually interested in the martial arts genre or for those interested in studying the arts themselves. The film is full of drama and humility, and Gordon Liu shines in one of his best roles as a young Wong Fei-hung. Although Liu's first 2 films were quite different from each other, Chang Chia's influence was clear. Chang began using the names of his protagonists as the Chinese titles of his films, beginning with Heroes 2, Fang Shi Yu and Hung Shi Quan, 1973. Liu Chia Liang followed this example with the Chinese title The Challenge of the Masters, which translates as Liu Sai and Wong Fei-hung.
什么人？出来！
His second Shaolin work, Shaolin Executioners, is a simpler kung fu film and appears to be a direct continuation of Chang Chia's sprawling 120-minute epic, Shaolin Temple, 1976. The story begins almost immediately after the end of Chang's film, with the destruction of Shaolin and the small group of warriors who manage to escape. The initial ambush stands out for its intensity, a type of action that Liu rarely explored. From that point on, the film transitions into a more expository environment. Just as Che had introduced the White Brows Priest, Pai Mei in Shaolin Avengers, 1976, Master Liu made him the main villain of his film. The director found that the third time was the charm at the box office. Not only was it a huge success, but it also revitalized Lo Lia's career and led to numerous films featuring white-haired villains.
Tiger size.
The 36 Chambers of Shaolin, 1978, was essentially Master Liu's version of Chang Chia's Shaolin Temple, 1976, and even included a brief shot of the interior of that film's temple set. Considered one of the best films of its genre, it authentically portrays Chinese kung fu training. Liu manages to infuse genuine pathos into his characters, keeping them realistic and highly empathetic, in contrast to the adrenaline-charged masculinity of Chang's films. Liu's masterpiece was completed in 3 months and featured more than 500 extras. All the effort was worth it, as the film was a huge success. The director's dedication to Chinese martial arts is reflected in virtually every scene. It is a brilliant work by an exceptional director. Tang Chia's Shaolin show had an episodic structure featuring several characters and many training sequences, culminating in a 30-minute battle. Instead, Liu Chia Liang, in his film 36th Chamber, focused on a single character, the historical monk Sante, masterfully played by Gordon Liu. This film expanded on the kung fu training sequences, showing details never seen before. Through the varied and meticulous training methods that Sante endures, the character gradually develops before the viewer. It's one of the most fascinating character arcs in a martial arts film, showing the transformation from a boy to a man in 2 hours. It's not hard to understand why this film is so beloved today. There were many notable films and directors in the kung fu genre, but Liu Chia Liang distinguished himself as a true martial artist who directed his own films. He always focused on producing high-quality kung fu films for the Asian market. However, over time, his talent was recognized beyond Asia. His great success and the praise he received motivated him to also impress his international followers. Unfortunately, in 1980, things began to change. Despite this, Liu Chia Liang and his adopted brother, Gordon Liu, had a lot to celebrate and had a great time. Among the director's best films is one of the strangest and most controversial he made for Shaw Brothers. Although equally subversive in its treatment of protagonist and antagonist, compared to his first film and Heroes of the East, which was also in production at the time, Shaolin Mantis, 1978, unusually combines the martial values typical of Liu with a tragic plot. The hero's role becomes complicated, making it difficult to discern whether he is a good or bad character. The protagonist is sent by the tyrannical Qing Emperor to discover a powerful family of rebels. He manages to get closer to them, even marrying their daughter to discover their secrets. This creates a narrative arc that confuses the audience about how they should feel about the main character. This plot device is both unique and the film's biggest detriment. Additionally, liberties are taken in creating the Mantis style. In short, it is a strange film in all aspects, but a bold experiment from the esteemed director.
"中国的拳术，有一部分是由各种动物的形态变化出来的，螳螂就是其中的一种。螳螂全身最坚硬的就是前背，所以经过练完木桩之后，还要练腕力。直立，还要配合腰力，神态。
这部片除了我打螳螂拳之外，还有。
还有鹰枪。
还有单刀。还有地堂双刀。
本片 除了这几种兵器之外，还有一种特别的拳术，叫做形影相随。形影相随的拳法是由逼打，还有运打，溜达，缠打，还有挨身靠打。形影相随的拳法是由逼运溜缠以及挨身靠打变化出来的。请各位多多指教。
Regardless of one's opinion of Shaolin Mantis, it is undeniable that Master Liu made David Chang, currently known as John Chang, shine like never before in a kung fu movie. He also stood out in The Challenger, 1979, and The Loot, 1980. At the beginning of the decade, David was nicknamed the King of Movies at Shaw's due to his popularity with fans and the number of box office hits in which he was involved. Although he was convincing in fencing movies, his hand-to-hand combat was sometimes not as believable. Liu knew how to make him look good. At this point in his career, Chang experienced a renaissance and starred in several kung fu films in the late 70s and early 80s. Gordon Liu makes a guest appearance in the Shaolin Mantis premiere, playing a bald Shaolin monk who must duel Chang's character. Gordon Liu's bald head became so iconic that seeing him with hair in a movie was very strange. However, in his next film, although at first it is strange to see him with hair, the quality of the film is so high that the familiarity of Sante is quickly forgotten and Gordon Liu is seen as a different character. Master Liu continued to innovate with his next project, Heroes of the East, 1978. Initially titled The Heroic Chinese, this film distanced itself from the typical violent Chinese versus Japanese films of the early 1970s. Instead of violence, Liu features a battle of the sexes that causes a major misunderstanding between the two cultures. The plot follows a series of complex duels in which Gordon Liu faces off against a new Japanese villain, each with a unique martial arts style. Filled with highlights, the Shaws were confident of another hit while heavily promoting Heroes of the East in their magazines. The Japanese cast, especially Yasuaki Kurata and model Yuka Mizuno, received a lot of attention. Liu managed to outdo himself again with this innovative version of a well-known story, full of impressive and creative fight scenes. The most surprising thing is that there are no deaths. Unlike the numerous bloody martial arts films of Chang Che and the Shaw brothers, Liu Chia Liang focused more on family and tradition than violence. From this point, his film career would be characterized by kung fu films with increasingly exaggerated humor. Although the complex fight sequences were a delight, the heavy humor sometimes hindered the viewing experience. With the exception of one film, all of his works for Shaw from then on would have a strong comedic component or be oriented toward children's entertainment. This became evident in Liu's next two films, Dirty Ho and Mad Monkey Kung Fu, both 1979. The first focuses on humor, derived from the participation of certain characters in extravagant battles, and points towards the type of extreme comedy that Liu sought in his later films. The second is a mix of continuous action with a constant touch of absurdity. The English title of Dirty Ho refers to the conman character played by Wong Yu. The plot is somewhat complex and cynical in its execution. Basically, it tells the story of the 11th prince who infiltrates the commoners and manipulates a thief to eliminate the assassins hired by the 4th prince, Frankie Wei-hung, in order to prevent him from ascending the throne. The final scene, while humorous, is pessimistic, as the prince discards Ho once he has served his purpose, treating him like trash. The 11th prince wants to have everything without losing anything. Slaves are not to question, only to obey, as shown by Gordon Liu's character at the end. Dirty Ho stands out for some of the director's most creative choreography, especially in the pleasant duels throughout the film, where fights are disguised as friendly conversations. For example, two men try to kill each other while arguing about art. As in Mad Monkey Kung Fu, Master Liu creates innovative fight sequences that are enhanced by Shaw's ingenious sets. Although Mad Monkey Kung Fu can be irritating, the fights save it, being its main attraction. Liu Chia Liang not only directed and designed the action, but also took the lead role, unusual since he usually had minor roles in his films. His student, Xiao Ho, co-stars, but fails to be memorable despite his acrobatic and kung fu skills. The film is very popular among fans and probably has the most action in the director's filmography. In 1979, Lo Li had the opportunity to realize his dream of directing his own film. That film was Clan of the White Lotus, 1980. Acting as a sort of sequel/remake to Liu Chia Liang's Executioners from Shaolin, the respected Master Liu helped his friend by choreographing all the impressive fight scenes. Lo Li also played the White Lotus, the superior colleague of the late White Eyebrow Priest, Pai Mei. The collaboration between Lo and Liu was a highly publicized event at the time. After finishing the movie Mad Monkey Kung Fu in 1979, Liu's attitude changed. Despite his wealth and taste for luxurious cars, as well as his popularity, Master Liu became disillusioned with the company. As Sir Run Run Shaw told Chang Che, Liu was not a person who sought long-term relationships. His pride and ego sometimes got the better of him. His relationship with Chang Che had deteriorated in 1975, and a few years later, the same thing happened with the Shaws. Although he once seemed interested in achieving international appeal, that desire also changed. However, he always remained steadfast in showing traditional Chinese martial arts on screen with exceptional choreography. Liu temporarily stepped away from the company to collaborate with his brother on several independent films produced by Lau Brothers Film Company. Although he did not direct any of these films, he was in charge of choreographing the action scenes. It is said that Liu was a horse racing betting enthusiast, but he did not have the same fortune in the field of independent film. Finally, Liu Chia Liang returned to Shaw's and familiar surroundings with Return to the 36th Chamber and My Young Auntie. The Shaws, clearly excited by the potential of Liu's 36th Chamber sequel, made an appearance at Cannes. However, it is said that Liu was not interested in this type of publicity. Importantly, Liu Chia Liang took a big risk with Return by having Gordon Liu play a completely different character in this sequel. My Young Auntie, 1981, is probably the more interesting of the two, especially how the director connects generations while showing the Western influence on Eastern culture. Some fans dislike Fu Xing for his antics, but Liu Chia Liang allows his disciple Xiao Ho to run wild at all times. He's fascinating to watch on screen, even though he often looks like he suffers from ADHD. Although they are suitable for the whole family, no one dies in them. The forced and oppressive humor may be too much for some viewers. Over-the-top comedy became a regular feature of Liu's films starting in 1980. Even mostly serious films like Legendary Weapons of China, 1982, did not escape the irritating humor. However, the fight sequences continued to be impressive, and both Return and Ante benefited from the supporting villain roles of Chuan Youngwon, also known as Kwan Young Moon, a Korean Taekwondo expert known to Kung Fu film fans. The series continued with The Gyms, known as Martial Club upon its theatrical release in 1981. This film became Master Liu's favorite, surpassing Heroes of the East. Given his background and early career before joining Shaw, it's easy to see why. Martial Club includes some of the director's best work, and the subject of a young Wong Fei-hung between rival gyms was clearly meaningful to him. Master Liu played with cinematic clichés again, this time having the usual villain, Wan Lung-wei, play a good character. The film is considered one of the best kung fu films ever made, and although the comedy is plentiful, it is not as over-the-top as in the director's other productions. Curiously, it was titled Instructors of Death on These Shores, even though no one dies in the film. During that period, the troubled actor Alexander Fu Sheng, along with his brother Chang Chanpeng, starred in Liu Chia Liang's entertaining film, The Treasure Hunters, 1981. Additionally, he became a student of Liu Chia Liang and acted in several of his films. This signaled the arrival of more over-the-top comedic situations, as well as some true kung fu classics. An example of the latter began filming in May 1981 under the title, The Heroic Family. With almost no humor, this was going to be the director's most serious and somber work to date, and he ultimately proved it in more ways than one. Liu Chia Liang, known for his vanity but also his romanticism, began the 1980s by directing a series of box office hits. In addition to his work in film, his depiction of Chinese kung fu was equally significant. He was active in martial arts and charity events, and mentored numerous actors, including Eric Sang Chi Wai, Yuan Te, Adam Cheng, and current Hung Gar Kung Fu instructor Mark Houghton. However, the 80s also brought several challenges, sometimes very difficult, that this master of martial arts had to face. Legendary Weapons of China, 1982, was Liu Chia Liang's first film that year. The cast included its usual talented actors, with the addition of Alexander Fu Sheng. Chang Che had made him famous in 1973, and the young actor had incredible loyalty to him, similar to that of a son to his father. This is how their relationship was perceived. When Fu Sheng began working with other directors, Master Liu again became his mentor. He appeared in several of his films before his tragic death in 1983. Before that, Liu Chia Liang added a touch of humor to Fu Sheng's mischievous behavior, first playing a faux spiritual boxer in Legendary Weapons of China, then co-starring with Adam Cheng in the colorful but painful Cat vs. Rat, 1982, and finally, in another co-starring role in 8 Diagram Pole Fighter, 1984. Story-wise, Fu's performance serves as a distraction, but fortunately, the director makes up for the film's confusing start with numerous impressive action scenes. Legendary Weapons hits the ground running, featuring a Darth Vader-style Chu Te-hu, who orders his subordinates to mutilate his enemies. The evil Mao Shan priests use kung fu with voodoo techniques and various magic tricks. Director Liu pays homage to ancient Chinese weapons, highlighting each of the 18 instruments throughout the film and showing them all in quick succession during the final duel. Overall, Liu's previous films were very successful. Legendary Weapons of China surprised everyone by grossing around 10 million in Hong Kong alone, becoming the director's biggest hit during his time at Shaw Brothers. This film was released on the same day as Jackie Chan's Dragon Lord, 1982. For context, Jackie Chan had revolutionized the genre in 1978 and achieved major box office success in 1980 with The Young Master. Soon after, he pioneered a new wave style that replaced the old, down-to-earth style of Hong Kong cinema. Chan's Dragon Lord grossed approximately $18 million. On the other hand, Chang Chia's Five-Element Ninjas, 1982, released in April of that year, only grossed about $1.6 million. Throughout his career, Liu Chia Liang had transformed the norms of the genre to fit his own vision. By this time, he had achieved great success against the emerging New Wave and Jackie Chan's continued blockbusters. Unfortunately, after Legendary Weapons came Cat vs. Rada, a rather tedious and excessively childish film. The plot, which is about two young rivals who constantly try to outdo each other, has already been seen several times, and the unbearable comedy does not help the film at all. The choreography is good, as expected. The crowded sets heralded difficult times for Shaw Brothers. The same observation can be made about the director's film The Lady is the Boss, 1983, although it presents a notable improvement. Essentially, it's a modernized, 80s set version of My Young Auntie, 1981, where the fight scenes take a backseat to the omnipresent comedy, with the cast reciting their lines at high speed. Maestro Liu attempts to contrast tradition with modernity, but this is simply an update of his film Auntie, without deep development of the theme. However, seeing the director's group of actors dressed in 80s clothing reviving characters from previous hits is a nice touch. Plus, it's a pleasure to see the crowds of moviegoers waiting to see Tang Chia's Shaolin Prince, 1983, at Shaw's Rex Theatre. During that time, the Shaws began to lose their relevance in Hong Kong cinema. From the early 1980s, their local audience was growing tired of their dated filmmaking approach, similar to what happened to Hammer in the 1970s. Despite this, the Shaws continued to produce period action films, as they were essential to their international markets, allowing them to stay afloat a little longer. However, in Hong Kong, audiences preferred new wave productions from Golden Harvest and other emerging studios. This was also reflected in Master Liu's films during that period. Whether it was Shaw's declining production values or Liu's lack of interest, his films didn't have the same luster as those of the previous decade. Still, Liu managed to make a great movie before the Shaws went out of business. This melancholic tone is perceived throughout the film 8-Diagram Pole Fighter, 1984. Despite Fu Sheng's death during production, the film was serious from the beginning. It began as The Heroic Family in May 1981, and although most of it had already been filmed, filming continued until Fu's tragic accident.
7 have left, 6 returned.
Our plan to destroy the Yang worked. They were annihilated. Not all the Yang got dead. Huh? What? We were ambushed by a damn traitor. We have to find those two Yang. I don't care what it takes.
My boy, where are you? We must find it. He's our only hope.
I'm a soldier, but I want to be a monk. You handle your staff well.
Despite the decline in production at Shaw Brothers Studios and the death of Fu Sheng, martial arts filmmaker Liu Chia Liang found reasons to keep going. Known for his success with women, even during his marriage to his first wife, Ho Sao Ha, Liu had a notable relationship with Kung Fu star Hui Hung. In 1983, he began to be frequently seen with the much younger actress Young Jing Jing, Mary Jean Reimer, who was 29 years his junior. In 1987, they married, although the marriage was rumored to have occurred in 1984. As in his films, Liu highly valued family. With his first wife, he had 4 daughters and a son, and with his second wife, with whom he was until his death, he had 2 daughters. Both families were present when he died. After the closure of Shaw Studios, Master Liu did not remain inactive. Unlike some of his colleagues, he managed to successfully adapt to the Hong Kong New Wave style, staying relevant for about another decade. Among his post-Shaw successes was Jet Li's film Martial Arts of Shaolin, 1986, also known as Shaolin Temple 3. Another of his achievements is the modern action film Tiger on the Beat, 1988, which, with its star cast, could have been a Shaw production. One of the most memorable moments in this film is a spectacular chainsaw duel between Gordon Liu and Conan Lee. The respected Kung Fu master first collaborated with Americans in 1993 on the film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time. According to Liu, Raymond Chow sent him to work on the film for a week, in which he designed 11 action sequences in 7 days, although it appears that none of them made it into the final version. Later, in 1994, Liu directed Jackie Chan in The Drunken Master 2, the first of 2 non-Shaw Wong Fei-hung films. This film is notable for the controversy that surrounded it. Just as the relationship between Liu and Chang Che deteriorated over time, the collaboration between these 2 giants of Kung Fu cinema quickly disintegrated. They both had strong personalities that didn't mesh well. Life imitated art, reflecting the conflict between tradition and modernity seen in Liu's Shaw films. Problems arose between them due to the clash between Liu's traditional style and Chan's new style, resulting in Master Liu's departure from the film. In 2000, it was announced that the Shaw Brothers' old film catalog would be restored and released on DVD, raising expectations of a revival of classic Kung Fu. The Shaw Brothers had already attempted to revive this genre with a remake of Boxer from Shantung, 1972, titled Hero, in 1997, starring Takashi Kaneshiro and Yuan Biao, although it was unfortunately unsuccessful. With restorations anticipated, Liu Chia Liang led this second wave of revitalization of the Shaw Brothers films. The Drunken Monkey, 2003, was conceived as a breath of fresh air in contrast to the CGI-filled wuxia films that had dominated Chinese screens since the release of Storm Riders in 1996. However, this new era of productions Shaw's film was thwarted again when The Drunken Monkey flopped at the Hong Kong box office. Despite having a cast of veterans such as Gordon Liu and Chi Kwan Chun, in addition to the promising Wu Jing, and having spectacular action scenes, the film was marred by an excess of comedy. The failure of The Drunken Monkey marked the end of Liu Chia Liang's career as a director. Liu Chia Liang participated in and co-choreographed one last film, Seven Swords, 2005, by Sui Hark. During filming, he suffered a case of pneumonia that worsened his health. Liu decided to retire from film and did not act again. In 2010, he was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award at the 29th Hong Kong Film Awards. That same year, in May, it was announced that he would be a consultant on Wong Kar Leung's The Grandmaster, 2013, where his nephew, Jimmy Liu, played a Hung Gar fighter. In 2011, it was reported that Master Liu needed regular blood transfusions. On June 25, 2013, martial arts cinema lost one of, if not the greatest exponents of Chinese arts in the history of Asian cinema. Although there were others dedicated to his art, none were as steadfast and determined as Master Liu Chia Liang / Lau Kar Leung. Born in 1936, with variations in month and date, his 76 years in this world were filled with numerous successes, disappointments, triumphs and tragedies that many of us will never experience. Even though he is no longer with us, we will never forget him as long as we fans have his films and the memories shared by those he guided, knew and loved him. Thank you, teacher. See you forever.